What to grow in September? It really is a great place to start for next year's garden success. From late sowings to planting bulbs and even setting up for a winter harvest, this is a month that is packed, believe me, with opportunities for productivity and beauty in your garden. I've been gardening for years and I'm going to share with you just five brilliant plants to grow now that'll reward you in the months ahead, just like a perfect capsule wardrobe of plants. Don't worry about getting out your pen and paper to note down each of the specific plants and recommendations that I'm talking about in today's episode. Instead, all you need to do is head across to my website, niallgardens.com, or follow the link in the description below and it'll take you through to my episode notes. Let's start with a less common way to grow something that's really very common. Christmas dinner from your own garden? Yes, really. Now, it might seem a little bit strange to think about sowing potatoes in September, but this is actually your chance to grow something cool. Christmas potatoes. Imagine harvesting a pot of your own new potatoes just in time for the Christmas festive table. The pride, the bragging rights, just imagine it. The trick is to choose first early varieties. Those are varieties that are quick to crop, about 14 to 16 weeks, and are happy in containers. Varieties like this, Charlotte or Swift, they're perfect picks. Unlike spring sowings, you're not going to be planting them into open ground. Instead, you're going to use large pots like this, potato sacks like this, or any container. Plant the seed potatoes 50 centimetres from the bottom, cover with compost, and then either top up as the shoots grow, or just do what I do and fill right to the brim at the very start. Now, there's a key reason why we're going to grow these in containers, and that's because potatoes aren't frost hardy. So the difference with September planting is all about what's behind me, protection. You can keep your pots outside for now and let the plants start to get established while the weather is still nice and mild. Then before, and this is the important thing, before the first frosts, move these under cover into a polytunnel, a greenhouse, or even a bright sheltered spot with fleece. With good light and protection, the foliage is going to keep growing and then the tubers are going to swell through the autumn. Then, by December, you should be able to tip this pot out and gather, well, it may actually just be a modest but delicious harvest. It's not always guaranteed, and the potatoes may be a little bit on the small side. Sometimes the cold wins, but you know what? It's about the fun of trying it and giving it a go that makes it worthwhile. And if, like me, you've got spare seed potatoes left from spring, it's the perfect way to use them. Spiky, architectural, and absolutely buzzing with bees. Sounds good? Well, next up, I want to recommend sowing some teasels. If you don't know what they are, they're a really dramatic wildflower that bring this big, bold structure into your garden. They grow about 1.5 to 2 meters tall with a spread of about 50 centimeters, and they produce these tall, spiny stems that are topped with what I think are kind of super cool egg-shaped spiky flower heads. And these spiky heads gradually flush to pink with this band of tiny purpley pink flowers that actually move along the flower head over time. Bees and pollinators adore these things. Now, the reason to sow them now, it's because they're biennials, and as biennials, teasels take 2 years to complete their cycle. So what you would do is you would sow them now in September, and they're going to establish a leafy rosette over winter, and then in their second year, they'll send up the towering stems and you'll get those spectacular flowers that you're wanting. Now, occasionally, and why we're doing it now, is an early sowing might even give you the flowers that you want next summer, if you're very lucky. The seed heads are equally valuable. Leave them standing and you're going to see goldfinches feeding through the autumn and the winter. I've actually seen that happening in real life. And what you can also do is you can cut some and they dry beautifully for indoor arrangements. Now, warning, they do self-seed freely. There's a reason that they're a wildflower or a weed, so think carefully about where you grow them. If you like a naturalistic style, let them just seed and spread. They're going to pop up like, well, hopefully welcome surprises. But if you prefer control, simply cut off the spent heads before they get a chance to set seed. For me, teasels are pretty much unbeatable for that wild architectural feel. And you know what? You're not going to buy them in the garden centre, so they're going to give you something different. They look like the perfect cross between a weed and a sculpture, and I love that. Not many plants add so much drama with so little effort. A woodland carpet from the barest of spaces. If, like me, you're lucky enough to have big trees or large shrubs in your garden, they really do add so much. But they can also leave bare patches underneath them. And in my case, a lot of apples that need to be picked up. But one of the things that's a perfect fix for these areas are wood anemones. They thrive in part shade, naturalising over time to form a beautiful spring carpet. Wood anemones form from these little small, slim, knobbly rhizomes, which honestly look more just like a few pieces of root than something that's going to turn into a plant. But trust me, they turn into something beautiful. September is the perfect time to soak them in water for a few hours and then get them planted. In the autumn and through the winter, they're going to slowly grow, but only just establishing their roots quietly underground. Then, from late winter through to mid-spring, these delicate, starry flowers appear above a mat of lovely, finely divided green leaves. Most varieties stay low growing, only about 10 to 15 centimetres tall, and spread gradually, very slowly, just covering a little bit more ground year after year. White is the classic form and my preference, but you can also get pinks and blues as well. Personally, I think that the simple white of the flowers look the most elegant, and just like their big cousin, the Japanese anemone, their flowers are really, really similar. These blooms aren't just pretty, they're a vital early nectar source for pollinators that are emerging after winter. And that simple open flower shape is just what those insects need. It gives them the early access to nectar. Plant them under deciduous trees like these, or in shaded borders where they're going to light up bare soil just as the season is beginning. Now, I said they would spread slowly. Patience is key. They are slow to establish, but once they get settled, then they're going to reward you with decades of quiet beauty and natural charm. I'm lucky to have all sorts of things already planted under here, like snowdrops, like bluebells, like daffodils. But anemones have a different look. They give a different feel to the area, and they're definitely worth integrating into your shady, more secluded, darker areas of your garden. While we're talking about spring flowering plants, well, I've got a discount code for you that's going to be perfect for this time of year. I'm delighted to be teaming up again this autumn with J. Parker's because they've been a trusted supplier for me for a few years now. Spring bulbs, potted perennials, bare root plants, even tubers and corms. Their range is one of the best around, but now is the best time to go and get hold of the spring bulbs that you want. Whether you're looking for daffodils, tulips, crocuses, hyacinths, or something a little bit more unusual, they've got an enormous choice to suit every kind of garden. What I really value about J. Parker's, and I know that you will too, is the quality of what they produce and supply. I've planted so many of their bulbs over the years, and truly they've never let me down. Good-sized bulbs that arrive fresh, strong growth, reliable flowering, and plenty of it. The difference really does show when you see the results in your garden. Delivery is also really quick, which means that when inspiration strikes, you're not left waiting around. I love that I can just order online, and within no time the bulbs arrive on my doorstep, ready to be planted in the garden. It just makes the whole process so much easier. And here's the best bit, you can get 15% off your order with my discount code Niall15. This year, J. Parker's are letting me share this discount code with even more of you. Use jparkers.com if you live in the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland, or alternatively, jparkers.co.uk if you live in England, Scotland or Wales. So, If you've been thinking about freshening up your garden with some really lovely spring colour, now's the perfect time to do it. Head across to the J Parker's websites, claim your discount code, Niall15, and get planting. Right, back to my September recommendations. Fast, fresh, and hardy enough for autumn sowing. All right. I know that all you grow your own lovers, you allotmenteers, you edible lovers, you are not going to be satisfied until I cover another great thing to grow in September that you can harvest and eat. Not just a plant that looks pretty or looks nice and gorgeous in your garden. So, for something edible and quick that's going to work well now, you can't beat spring onions. Hardy varieties like this White Lisbon can easily be sown in September and are going to provide you with lovely crisp, fresh onions all the way through the autumn and even into the winter. Now, I'm sure that everyone is familiar with a spring onion, or as they're called where I'm from, scallions. Anybody else call them that? Spring onions are compact. They're around 30 centimetres tall with a slim upright habit. We're going to come back to why that's good in a moment. They don't take up too much space. Sow them in rows outdoors in gaps that you have, if the soil is still warm enough, or plant them into modules, get them started and then plant them out later. Either way, they're going to germinate quickly, clump up nicely, and then they're going to be ready for harvesting really in a matter of just a few weeks. The flavour is that familiar, sharp but refreshing mild onion taste that's perfect for salads, stir fries or garnishes. They're also remarkably easy. They need little more than ensuring that they have regular moisture and not too much competition from weeds. So give them a little bit of a weed now and then, and they're going to be fine. Because they're quick growing, you can even successionally sow them for a steady supply if you particularly like them and you want loads of them. Now, one of the big advantages is how tough they are. Unlike so many vegetables, hardy spring onions actually cope well with cooler temperatures, and that means that they're a great option to keep beds productive later in the season. A bed like this, where I've lifted a whole load of things out, plants are finishing and I have gaps. They don't take up too much room, so they're perfect little fillers for even little individual gaps that appear around now in all sorts of different beds. Simple, fast, and always useful in the kitchen. If you want a reliable September sowing, spring onions deserve a spot on your list. Looking for airy elegance without the thuggish spread? Well, this is going to be a little bit special because I'm going to let you in on a secret happening here in the garden. I'm going to show you one of the new plants that I'm going to be introducing to here, and I'm also going to recommend it to you because although I don't have it in the garden yet, it's a plant that I've admired for a long time. And you may be familiar with me talking about how I'm designing this big wraparound planting of grass and perennials all the way around my house. Well, the fabric is down, I'm killing off the weeds and I'm starting to pick out the plants. But this is going to be one of the key plants. Grasses can completely change the feel of a garden, and one of the best that you can plant in September is this. Millennia Cerulea subspecies Arundinaceae Edith Dudsus. Unlike some really chunky grasses, look at the airy habit that this Millennia has. It forms a nice tidy clump, less than a metre tall and less than 50 centimetres wide, with these little upright green leaves that turn golden in the autumn. But from midsummer, it sends up these most delicate, wiry stems that are topped with tiny purple-brown flowers. Planted en masse like I'm going to be doing, they create this shimmering veil that just moves beautifully in the breeze. Edith Dudsus is also sterile, so that means that this isn't going to self-seed around the garden, and it makes it so much easier to manage compared to some grasses that actually can be a bit more invasive. It does expand slowly but steadily, but what it forms are these lovely, neat little clumps that are going to sit beautifully amongst all of the perennials that I'm going to be planting here. Do you see how it's just moving? Planted in full sun to light shade in reasonably moist but well-drained soil. September is a really good time to get grasses like this established because they're going to come back nice and strong next spring. It's effective really in a modern or naturalistic planting scheme. Like I said, I'm going to use it here in the wraparound planting. And really, for me, few other plants offer the same combination of structure, movement and elegance with actually so little maintenance. So, if you want a grass that looks refined rather than bulky, Millennia Edith Dudsis might just be the one for you. Before you head off, there's a video on screen right now that is going to be perfect for this time of year. If you're planning your next steps in the garden, whether it's sowing, planting or pruning, or just getting inspired, it's going to help you make the most of the season ahead. And until next time, see you later.